Today is a good day because the Sony a7S III has finally been updated.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening!
If you are a Sony a7S III user, this is a long-awaited update because every other camera that has come after it, like the FX3, the FX30, a6700, the a7siii, the a7 IV, all those cameras, they've all gotten these like firmware updates which have like totally revamped the menu system and the display and honestly just so many things that are pretty beneficial, but like not necessarily gonna make your images better, but they're just like overall daily use functionality changes. Keep in mind when you update this software, all of your settings are gonna get wiped. So you have to like redo all the custom buttons. And even if you saved it on an SD card on your previous firmware, it's not gonna import, it's not gonna work. I already tried and it didn't work, so I had to redo everything, but it's fine. It took like 10 minutes. So let's just kind of get into it. Let's talk about the updates that are coming to the a7S III. So the support for the mobile application, the Creators app. The Sony app has always sucked. It's supposed to be like a better version of Imaging Edge, which was just terrible. I could never connect my camera to that thing. And even if I did manage to connect my camera, it would always take like, a few minutes to do it, and then it would disconnect randomly and the connection was just terrible. You can get this new app which you can actually transfer files over and all that stuff. I don't know if I'm actually going to use it. So there's now support for DCI 4K, which is essentially a wider version of regular 4K. You have to install a free license to use it. And I think that's kind of awesome. I might try it out and see how it goes. So now you can actually have timecode go into the micro USB, which is kind of cool. I don't use timecode. I know a lot of people who do. If they're handling a whole bunch of different cameras, like say if you're shooting a concert or some sort of event where everybody's shooting, there's multiple cameras and everybody's shooting at the same time, it's nice to have timecode so that when you sync the cameras up later, you don't have to like go by the audio waveform and try to figure out, like sometimes someone didn't, their date is wrong or their time is wrong. And so timecode just makes sure that everything is like perfectly aligned. So you can add custom grid lines now, but guess what? You have to pay for it. So I'm not gonna talk about that because that's stupid. So there's a bunch of other updates, like small little updates and fixes, but some of the ones that I'm actually really excited about, these other ones are kind of like, that's cool, but will I ever use that? The ones that I'm actually excited about are the new menu system. Oh my goodness. This new menu system is so much cleaner. I think they must have updated the firmware. It's so much more snappy. Everything goes quicker. Everything like is instantaneous when you press it. The layout of the new cameras, like the layout that they have from like the FX3 onwards, everything is at the top that you need to kind of see. And then you got your settings down at the bottom right there because it keeps everything off the screen. If you press up, you can actually put, other things like the level and then like the histogram or whatever. There's touch functionality, like there's an extra touch menu when you swipe to the left or the right. You get some extra little buttons that you can press and everything. And the nice thing is that you can turn on touch functionality without turning on tracking, because sometimes you want to have that on, but you don't want to like be pressing and turning tracking on by accident. So you can turn those two things on, or you can turn one of them on and then one of them off, or both of them on, or both of them off. Another kind of fun thing is that you can shoot in true 24p. You can do 50 frames, like 1/50 frames per second, or 1/48, which is true 24p. Is this really gonna make a difference? I don't know, like you might not notice a difference, but if you're really into that and you really want like a true 24 frames per second, like that's really cool to have. I think I would have much rather had shutter angle. And if you don't know what shutter angle is, essentially you can set the shutter angle to say like 180. It's the same thing as saying twice the amount of the frame rate. So you know how you have 24 frames per second, you have to go up to 48 shutter speed to kind of double it. Basically, when you have a 180 shutter angle, anytime you change the frame rate, it'll always double it. So you don't have to change the frame rate. I would say those are the big ones that I'm actually excited about. The new menu system, 24p, like true 24p. Honestly, just the menu system. I'm happy about it. I love it. I think it looks so good. Another thing that they added was focus breathing compensation. And I haven't actually had this issue because I shoot on a 24-70, but if you shoot on Sony primes, this will be great because some of the primes, apparently like the 35 has a really bad breathing compensation. Like when you turn the focus ring, it'll kind of like zoom out and zoom in. It's like breathing. It crops in a little bit and it compensates for that. So now it's focusing and you don't see that kind of like that breathing happening. They don't have that because I'm pretty sure the Sony a7S III doesn't have the AI chip that some of these cameras have. Another thing that's also not added, which I'm a little bit sad about, is Cine EI. It's not that big of a deal. You know, the only thing about Cine EI that I would have liked is being able to just quickly switch between your base ISO and then your low light ISO. It's not that big of a deal, but I understand that they wanted to keep Cine EI to the cinema line cameras, which is the FX series of cameras. Honestly, I'm like, I don't see myself needing a different camera for a long time. If anything, I would love to get a second camera with similar specs. Like on my a7 III, still a great camera, but I would love to get something like the a7C II or something that can kind of be a nice B camera to this one. That's pretty much it for the Sony a7S III update. If you have an a7S III and you haven't got the update yet, do it. It takes about 45 minutes to update. It's a long time, but when you do, it's totally worth it. Anyways, that's it.